Hi, I'm Aurora Cady, and I'm a VFX producer slash regular producer. And welcome to the Chat with Dan show.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Chat with Dan here. Joining me today, what can I say? There's so much talent in the room right now. Let me tell you why. Because I have on the show the incredible, the amazing, the badass, the superstar, the legendary, the one and only, the incredible Aurora. Aurora, how are you today?
That was quite the introduction, Dan. Thank you so much. I'm doing great, and thank you for having me.
What better way to have an incredible, super badass Tuesday than to be chatting with someone as badass as you? You know what I mean?
It's so fantastic. Thank you for having me, and I'm so happy to be here on Taco Tuesday.
Good plan. Now, if you're new to the channel, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, follow. It helps a lot. But also in the description below, you're going to find all of our social media. Let's follow her. Let's share some love. Let's find out why she's super badass. Mission right now. And without further ado, let's jump in. So I want to start this whole conversation by throwing out the first question, which is, what drew you into the world of production and specifically into the whole VFX?
It's interesting because I had never really thought that I could end up in film. I'm from Ohio originally, which is, of course, not exactly known as a film hub. And I moved to Los Angeles about 15 years ago. And when I got here, everyone you meet is in the industry or somehow related or went to college with Ben Affleck or this thing or this thing. So you kind of can't really escape it. And at the time I was actually working in software, which was pretty unrelated seemingly to me at that point in time. But then after being all around all these amazing creative people that were in this space, it just seemed so fun. And I didn't know that it could be an option. It didn't even occur to me when I was younger that it was something that I might want to pursue. And of course, who doesn't love watching movies and the magic and the idea about building universes and telling stories that relate to people and make people feel seen. So once I sort of got this taste that I could be in it, I decided to make the jump. And I actually found that there were quite a few crossovers between what I had been doing in software, which I had a software company that I had started when I was in college, and film, specifically being a producer as far as making sure things stick to a schedule, make sure that we're hitting budgets and staying within budget and things like that. So it's really kind of the nerd way to be in film, but I love it.
That's amazing. At what point did you realize this was something you really wanted to pursue?
I really realized it when I was going through a tough time with my job. And I can't say there was ever a light bulb moment of aha. It just kind of crept up on me, having friends that tangentially worked as producers on MTV. My now husband was working in the VFX industry already on, at that point in time, the show Walking Dead as a VFX supervisor. And I got to be background on that show, which was so fun and magical to be painted up as a zombie for the day. And I was okay, I kind of like this a lot more than what I'm doing.
Yeah, absolutely. That is amazing. And tell me, what's something about working in VFX or production that people completely misunderstand?
I think about VFX specifically is that so much of what you're seeing has been touched by VFX. I don't even think people realize it. You'll watch something that seems like it was shot on location or something that seems like it's so practical and that there's no effects being added. But the smallest of things have probably come across our desks. For example, I worked on the show 1923 was one of my last projects. And for that show, they were originally set to shoot it in Montana in January because the entire season is going to be covered with a blizzard. And that didn't happen. Things got pushed because of strikes and such. And we ended up shooting that mostly in Austin, Texas in the summer. No snow. And then partially in Montana in the fall, still no snow. And I was kind of looking at all of that in regards to like budget and stuff. Like, okay, the last time I was in Yellowstone that time of the year, it was 72 degrees and warm. Like, what are we going to do when we come to that point in the road that we get to Montana that's not snowing, which happened? And lo and behold, everything you see that is snow on that TV show was either done with a snow machine, but the vast majority is visual effects snow.
That is amazing. There's so much
Yeah.
things that we just don't know. When we're watching like a project and we think that it's real or things like that, and once you realize it's like, oh, they're actually didn't happen. Like specifically, the other day I was just watching like on some behind the scenes that for this specific scene, it looked like that it was actually raining, but
Uh-huh.
turns out that it wasn't. It was just a bunch of hoses, like really, like very well placed, and it was looking like giving that effect that it was actually soaking wet, but it wasn't raining at all. So
Yeah, it's so cool. And, I think it's kind of like every director's dream to not use visual effects. And I totally understand that it's such a beautiful old school way to make movies and TV shows to not have to do anything CG. But at the end of the day, sometimes things don't go as planned on set. And it's like a lot of things that I think people don't realize our visual effects were totally unplanned. And like we try to do like a stab scene and like the wound doesn't look right. Or sometimes even like makeup, like you'll have a thing where they forgot to do a black eye for a scene and we're going back in visual effects or whatever. So sometimes it just is completely unplanned and the forgotten department of visual effects has to step in and find a way to make it work.
totally. I mean, and at the end, it's a tool. Why not? Why
Yeah.
don't you use it? I've been speaking with producers that they don't use VFX, but because they don't have much budget, and
Right.
and it tends to be a little bit more hectic because they have to either if they're doing it on a day or in the night, they have to be quickly. Otherwise, the day will pass, and then you have to reschedule the shoot, and that costs money, and so on, so on, so on. So
It happens all the time. And things like, boom dips and stuff coming into a scene. Like I'm working on a really cool movie right now that was actually shot in Palm Springs. And it's, done as a low budget indie film, which will be coming soon to festivals and such. But they didn't realize that there were literally 90 some shots where the boom dipped into frame that we're now having to paint out with visual effects. And I'm a producer on it. I'm not handling visual effects. But I found myself having to also be the VFX producer on that movie because now all of a sudden we have 90 visual effects shots.
that's cool. That's another epic experience, another chance to learn,
Yeah.
and adding also on your resume.
Right.
That is what it's all
We'll
about.
paint out your booms.
It's a good plan. Now, when you start a project, what are the first things you focus on locking in?
So if I'm producing, the biggest thing for me is honestly probably location. That's going to change so much about the script and what you have access to and the way you're telling that story and what the director is visualizing. And there's like other things that you might be able to trade out. Like I know a lot of people like to cast their movie first and like who's going to bring this magic there. But I feel like it's maybe a little easier to swap out like a perfect person to bring life to this role than it is a location, especially if it's a very specific location.
Mm. And what part of your work do you find the most challenging right now?
Right now, like so many people in film, I think it's actually just how little work there is out there available. I love like every aspect of my job. And certainly there's hard days where you're working so many days back to back, 14-hour days. Now you're working nights, you're doing this or whatever. There's, things with departments not getting along. And like there's always going to be things like that for a producer. But dear Lord, I miss a lot of that between having long, stints of not working right now.
Mhm. And now let's talk about a little bit about chaos happens, right? So how you handle situations where chaos starts and things starting to go as planned during the whole production.
It's always going to happen. I don't think a single, hour of filming goes as planned when you're on set and you just have to be flexible and try your best to like accept that, like maybe we didn't get the perfect take for this. Like we really tried, but it's like the end of the day, everyone's tired. We just have to move on. So, like probably the biggest disappointment is that you're never going to get something shot exactly the way you saw it in your mind's eye. And don't worry, VFX will fix it in post anyway.
And how you stay calm, and not let chaos to then make you feel all stressed out and then start to break the vibe here. So how you stay calm in those situations?
Drugs, alcohol. No, taking a deep breath. I think I have like a pretty relaxed personality. Anyways, I do yoga. Like I actually really appreciate natural medicine and Ayurvedic medicine. And I actually try to focus on self-care when I'm not in a production. When you're in a production, it's like you just have to accept you have no cortisol left in your body to even feel anything. So maybe that's actually the trick. Just run out of cortisol.
Of course. And what's a moment where you had to solve a problem quickly and it ended up improving the final result even?
Actually, I did have a situation recently saying that it can be easier to replace an actor, and not to like discount what actors do, because this like proved to be very frustrating. We had an actor cast that I had worked with before for actually a short film that I wrote and produced that still is not out, but it hopefully will be soon. And I was so excited about that because especially like the lower budget your project is, and this was ultra low budget short, the harder it is to, of course, attract good talent and somebody who's SAG and that sort of thing. And we got really lucky finding an actor that likes me because we'd worked together on a very big budget project together that was going to do this as a favor. And then unfortunately, he got offered a big role 2 weeks before filming, and we'd already bought his flight from New York, and like we were kind of like, we're in LA. Do we really want to fly an actor to LA from New York? Like, how crazy is that? But he was so good, and we were so lucky to have him, and he's been in big things, and it really would have been a fantastic thing in our minds. But we had to replace him. And, it was one of those things where like he felt so perfect for it, but the person we ended up getting was incredible. And it would have been a very different movie with the previous actor. And I'm sure he would have brought something to it, but like we loved the result. And we're actually quite like this guy just exuded the exact personality we wanted. Like he was him. So sometimes it's good to just roll with it, and you might be happy with those little encounters.
I mean, it's life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Sometimes you can't control it. Just the way it is. Sure, it sucks. But what I've been trying to understand is that sure, feel miserable, curse a little bit, why not? And then suck it up and then move forward, So
Absolutely.
Which is easier said than done, of course, but it takes time.
In the moment, it does feel like the whole world is collapsing around you. But like once you gain perspective and can actually take a step back from all of that chaos, I think like it, it's not the crisis you thought it was.
Yeah, of course. Now, what does your role look like when you're acting as a bridge between creative teams and technical teams?
That is definitely a challenge. And one of my mentors he is actually always on John Krasinski's projects. He's a Michael Bay guy. He's a big time executive producer. He's been on tons of things. And when I first decided I wanted to go the producer route, he was so wonderful to act as my mentor for me. And I was asking him at the time if he thought that was a good path, like what the best path in film would be given, like who I am as a person. And he said, like that he felt I had this unique ability to really like listen to people and to like make everyone feel as though they're the talent. And like that's really the important thing, because like everybody on a film set thinks they are the talent. Like it's not just the cast, like the director is the talent, like the makeup department's the talent, like everyone, like you got a lot of creative, amazing people in there that have these big personalities that are trying to figure things out on a budget, like that's maybe clashing with another department. Maybe it is clashing with lighting and this like vision they had for things. And the trick is to just make them feel like the talent, like give everybody the time and attention they deserve. Everyone has worked really hard to get there. And sometimes you have to give them bad news and deliver a no, or like, we're actually going to go this direction instead. But like, just give them the respect of treating them like they're the talent.
And how you handle difficult people.
It's, of course, going to happen. And I think just approaching it with so much patience of really trying to come from an angle of like, they've put a lot of thought into this too. Like, this is their baby. Like, like everyone thinks the VFX term is like nerds, but I promise you, like hours and hours and hours of thought went into like this decision that they're making. So I think like coming from that place of empathy that like, I get it. Like you really wanted to build this big, beautiful thing. And instead of like the $10,000 budget we thought we were going to have, it's now cut back to 2,000 for like this lighting scheme. And, just that. And occasionally you're going to have to let someone go. Like sometimes somebody is becoming a problem for others on the team. So I would say if it's like just that they're having a bad day, try to talk them off the ledge. But if they're impacting other people's work time and time and time again, then, it might be time to let them go.
And how you handle those situations, to make sure that it doesn't escalate into chaos and all of that.
Document. If you're going to ask somebody to leave, especially with HR coming from a studio level, there's going to be probably pushback at some point, whether it's from a union, whether it's from an attorney, like different things, like documenting each incident as it happens. Even if it's a small thing, just try to get in the habit of making a note about that, because you're going to be really glad if things start to escalate that you're like, actually, like this guy was causing a problem as early as a month ago. And so just like having those notes are such an important thing.
Yeah. Wow. I'm just amazed here. The fact, like so many things that happen behind the scenes that we just know about. As I was saying in the beginning, we just watch it and be like, oh, this is really cool. And, it can get like this misconception idea that they just record, that's it. You know what I mean? And no, there's so many, even like HR stuff here. That's wow.
Absolutely. And you have like 300 people like on set, like on a crew. Like it's so many people making these things happen. Like you just can't know until you're in that world. And you're going to have conflict. You're going to have different personalities. You're going to have issues.
Yeah. And what is something about your job that people would only understand after they are actually doing it?
I think like the addiction of it. Because like if you like described your average day, sometimes like being on set, if you're say filming in Austin, Texas in July when it's like 105 degrees with 98% humidity and you're on location and there's no air conditioning because base camp is like a 15-minute van ride back. And, like you're having like things go wrong. And now like you're working that 14th hour and, like there's a line for the bathroom and like you're just trying to get back between set. Like there's all these like things that are happening all the time. And it's so exhausting when you're in it, but there's just nothing as magical as seeing all these people coming together to like with this shared vision to make something. And it's so addicting. And I think about other jobs I could have that might make more money. Like I actually used to make more money in software, and I had like a 9-to-5 job at a desk and air conditioning. But I don't miss that. And like when I'm not on set, I miss it and I crave being back there.
I mean, it's just the thing you are meant to do. You know what I mean? So
right.
I totally get it. It's just the way, and it's so interesting because sometimes life somehow would be sending you signs whenever you're on the wrong path. You know what I mean? And it's up to you to actually discover where to go and just actually do it. Try different things and everything. So that's pretty cool. The fact that you know exactly where your path is and
absolutely
and just make the best of it. So
yes, I love it.
That's even like more badass. This question one, I was like, okay, I have the pipes, and I'm like, I'm getting it.
Right.
Now, switching to our first activity.
Okay.
Speedrun questions, yes, no, or pass, super simple. Gonna ask you a couple of questions. but you can only answer yes, no, or pass.
Okay,
You ready?
I'm ready.
Do you trust your instinct when making production decisions?
Yes.
Have you ever had to say no to a creative idea because of the budget?
Yes.
Do limitations sometimes lead to better solutions?
Yes.
Have you ever doubted a project while working on it?
Yes.
Do you think audiences underestimate how much goes into VFX?
Yes.
Have you learned more from difficult productions than smooth ones?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Do you think pressure improves your performance?
Yes.
Have you ever had to fix something last minute before delivery?
Yes.
Do you believe collaboration is more important than controlling production?
No.
And would you go back and change something in a past project if you could?
Yes.
There you go. Pretty epic. Now, returning to our general transmission, tell me, how do you decide what's worth the time and resources when everything can't be done?
That is a very good question. And God, budgets, it's horrible. And I think a lot of the time what we end up doing is finding ourselves going out and asking for more money. There's like things that we're going to have to say no to that might like seem like they're obvious, like wardrobe was like, we have to use these vintage 1937 scarves instead of reproductions, and it's going to increase the budget by $1 million. And it's like, no, you will be using reproductions. Like there's like things that are like kind of obvious depending on the budget. But then there's things that it's like, we don't do this change that's going to put us over by 10,000, by 100,000. It's going to really affect like someone's ability to watch it. And like, you just have to go ask for more money. And I think that's what happens a lot as a producer. Like there's plenty of like, guys, can we cut back on this? Like, can we find like a cheaper solution? But a lot of the time it's like, you're just going and begging for money.
Did you ever have to pitch your own money for a project?
I did for my own short. That's the only time. And that was like definitely a thing where, I had done the budget and I had done budgeting for big productions before. So I thought that it was something I was kind of an expert at. And with that in mind, you're like kind of like guessing at a studio level. And then you're like literally on day of planning one, I was like, we're going to have a crew of like 50 for this like short film. And then I start looking at like day rates and like, I'm like, well, people are out of work. We have friends that may do us a favor. There's like things where you're like hoping someone will, like do you a favor, or like the universe will like favor you for this day. And then you find out, no, like we have to like honor day rates and like we have to honor SAG rates and this and that. And so then you find yourself like, can I hook up a monitor myself? Have I ever lit something? How well can I use a camera? Yeah. And when the answer to those questions is, I don't know how to light something, then yes, I ended up putting in quite a bit of my own money.
Yeah. But I mean, at the end, I'm pretty sure that it was worth it, right?
Yeah, it felt worth it. And it was so frustrating at that time because it was like during one of the lulls. And like, I think everybody in this now that has been in the film industry for a while was probably in this feast phase for a long, long, long time. Like my husband was in visual effects for 30 some years. One of his first movies was Titanic. Like he's worked consistently since he was in his 20s. And then coming into the film strikes and like thereafter, it's just been this other universe. And I feel terrible for anybody just getting into film now because they don't have savings and like things to fall back on. And both of us being in film seemed like a great idea. But then like neither one of us were working around the times of the strike. So it's like deciding to do the short was a decision because I wanted that creative outlet and I missed it. And it's like, what if I did something on my own while I wait for something to pop up? But it was also a terrible time to self fund something.
Now, what do you think that separates producers who last from those who don't?
You have to really hate yourself. No, it's I like from being a producer versus like not producer, if like that's what you really want to do, you do have to really, really want it. And you have to show up every day if you've only slept a few hours. Like just ready to go and be full force and to interact with people. Like it's such a social job and you have to be monitoring departments and like checking in with people and like making sure things are going as smoothly or as badly, like stopping things from going bad. And you have to like really show up every single day. And that's not for everybody, and that's okay. Like being on a film set is hard anyways. Like I don't think anyone's going to make it on a film set if they're not willing to work the 14-hour days and not sleep and work overnights and fratter days and all these like wild things that like we do. But being a producer, you have to like put your like friendly hat on every day too. And like you're really talking people off ledges and smiling and you also have to be able to say no. And like you have to be able to say that in a way that people are still willing to work with you. Like you're not just like shutting it down and not giving them a good reason or like you'll be gone too if you're not easy to work with.
What kind of projects or stories are you most interested in being a part of right now?
Right now, I'm really interested in telling stories that haven't been told before. And one of the cool things about like a positive of like things to come from the strikes is, like when there's like so much work out there, like I found myself just working on any show because you're kind of like, okay, I want to make more money. Like if I'm offered a better position, I'm going to take it. And sometimes like you're on shows that you don't care about the story, or maybe you don't like it. And like it's not something you believe in, or there's like scenes that are upsetting and it doesn't feel like you. And taking a step back during the strikes, I got to really take a lot of time to decide when I am eventually an executive producer, what kinds of shows and movies I want to greenlight, like who gets their voice heard. And for me, I'm like very motivated by voices that haven't been heard before. So if that's the BIPOC community, if that's transgender stories, like just like people that have been silenced in the past. And like no offense to white men, and like white straight cis men, like I totally like think your stories deserve to get told too, but I would like to also make space for people that haven't been seen before and haven't felt represented by people on TV looking like them or having similar situations to them in the past. So that's really important to me. And that's something at my production company that we're trying to take a dive into that. And aside from that, I just really love horror movies. So anything spooky, sign me up.
There you go. And guide me through the process. Like, so how does that work? So when you are about to produce like a project, so is there like a, I don't know, like a page in which you submit yourself, or like how is it goes?
Yeah. So, we're not actively seeking movies right now. My production company just, like we don't have a lot of money in for funding. But for example, I'm on the board of Women in Film and Television in Palm Springs. And we actually just closed up a screenwriting competition. We just closed down submissions. Unfortunately, I wish I could tell everybody to come submit them. But that was awesome. I think we probably received about 100 scripts, short scripts that I just finished reading. And it was nice to kind of view things through that lens. Like, is this something I've heard before? Is this kind of pushing someone's boundary? Is this opening up someone's perspective about something, a way someone has lived that they hadn't considered before? And we got like tons of like, cute, funny love stories and like this and that. But there's also other women on the judging panel. So I was like, if that's what they like, cool. But I'm going to go for the weird, dark stuff.
That's amazing. Now,
Yeah.
when all of this is said and done, not the work, not the recognition, just you as a person, tell me, what do you hope your life actually meant?
I do hope that it feels like that to people. I hope that in watching projects that I was a part of, that people feel like seen by me. And I think that's so important. Like I come from sort of like an interesting heritage. My mom is indigenous, which you wouldn't guess about looking at me, but like I kind of had this unusual upbringing because I got to see things in her world a bit and my grandparents' world and how it was different than like my experience. And I really like care about that for other people. And I'm certainly not the only one saying this. It's not like this is something I've come up with, like, like it, whatever. But like hearing that and hearing that from like little girls growing up and saying like, I'd never seen someone who looked like me on TV or this or whatever. I just think that's so special. And I hope that I'm remembered for bringing that to like anyone.
Pretty epic. All right. And you know what? My last question here. So we can all enjoy and relax after an epic chat. So, what do you think that could be the best title for this episode?
Ooh, the best title for this episode. I think it could be something along the lines of the horror of balancing a film budget.
Could be a title. Horror of balancing.
Perhaps.
That could work. I see that happening. Or, yeah, I think that one. What do you think?
It could be something like making a fake blizzard in Montana with Harrison Ford.
Even better. Even better. I'll take that right now.
You will get clicks.
That's the winner. And you know what?
He's a lovely man.
I bet. And before we wrap up, how was the experience of meeting him?
Of meeting him?
Mm-hmm.
Oh gosh, he's it's there's like an expression like "don't meet your heroes," and not true with him. He's God, it's so great because he's one of the most famous people who's ever lived. And anyone who's like worked on a film crew with like big names knows that like there's no reason to like interact with a celebrity or like with your cast, like especially if like they're quite famous, unless like you have a reason to. So like you shouldn't just be like walking by them on set and be like, "Hey, Harrison, like can I get you a coffee?" or something like that for no reason. Because like they're there to work and they need to stay focused. Sometimes like they're in character, like whatever it is, like PA, like you do not need to go be like, "Harrison Ford, can I take a picture with you? Can I have you sign my Star Wars autograph book?" Mm-hmm. But for me, like the first time I saw him, I would just like say hi to everyone on set. And so I walked past him and he's being escorted with the second AD. And I say hi to the second AD and I say hi to him before it like hits me, his first insight who he is. And I'm like, oh my God, like the first rule of being on set is like, do not say hi to somebody like Harrison Ford. And he kind of like looks at me and he doesn't say anything. And I'm like, oh God, like fair enough. And so the next time I interact with him, we actually like scanned him in our visual effects trailer. We often scan our most like our like biggest, why can't I think of the term for like our highest like listed people that are doing stunts and stuff in case we have to like do a swap with their faces or something like in a stunt where their double has stepped in, things like that. So we're scanning him and it's like, I'm there to like make sure that he has everything he needs and like things go smoothly. It's like we meet that day and like he learns my name and like, like he's very kind, like very pleasant. And the next time I see him on set, he's walking past me and I'm like, not going to fall into this trap again. And I look away as he looks up and says hello to me. I snub Harrison Ford and look away. And like everyone I'm standing with as he walks away is like, did you just ignore Harrison Ford? And I was like, no one ever said that I am smart. But he's wonderful. He knows everyone's name on set. He's so hardworking. He's fantastic. He has a great attitude. Like he's just the person you want on your show. He's just phenomenal.
Yeah. He gives those vibes, So
absolutely. Yeah. Because like he kind of has like a reputation sometimes, like for being like grumpy. And I think like sometimes his like characters that he plays are kind of like, like I can't be bothered with this, like kind of like grumpy guys, but he's not that at all. Like
Yeah.
he's just lovely.
Yeah, I think he kind of got that impression when the last Star Wars film he was in, and then Conan O'Brien invited him, and then turns out he was about to sign something, and then he dropped it, things like that. So maybe people just can get like a false impression, but I don't think that. So
He has a great sense of humor.
yeah, he's on my top list. He and Keanu Reeves for sure.
I would love to work with Keanu if you're listening.
Yeah, that would be epic. That would be epic. Wow. So at the end, what can I say? I just love the fact what you do. It's incredible. It's amazing. It's super badass here. I mean, I'm in love with your career here because you are like the whole, like, what can I say here? Like you are making this projects come to life, and you're not also giving us cool content, right? For us to laugh, enjoy, like all of that. You're showing us that dreams can come true. Yeah,
Absolutely.
That's super inspirational and super amazing because you're giving us hope. You're showing us out there that sure, it can get messy, sure, it can get stressful, and questioning yourself multiple times, what the hell am I doing? But you're doing it, you're showing out there, and you are showing that it can happen. And that type of hope, I do think it's something we desperately need right now, especially now in this crazy mess that era we're facing. The fact that we can rely on you and many other amazing people out there who are showing us and giving us hope.
Oh, thank you. And like everyone, hold out hope. I think it's going to come back. Like I truly don't believe that AI can do what we do. Like I just don't think it can. And people are going to try. And there's always going to be like a 13-year-old like at home on their computer making things. Like that's always going to happen. But I think the need for actual human emotion and to like convey that through acting is never going to go away. And just, do it. Like make a club, get together with some friends, like even if jobs are scarce, like just make something, pick up your iPhone, like whatever, like you're going to learn so much from that. And it's going to come back.
Best way to finish it. Epic. So I want to thank you so much for making this happen. I do want to thank also those who stayed the whole episode. Now, by this point, come on. I mean, since question 1, I knew why Aurora is super badass. So let's follow her. Let's share some love. # Team Aurora. And again, thank you for making this happen. Keep shining out there. Keep rocking. Keep kicking ass. Keep doing what you do. And I'll be seeing you in the next one.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely.